Hey guys, Brad Corkin once again. Today we're going to be having a look at the KTI PLB. Now, when I first started sort of four-wheel driving, remote travel, remote prospecting, and a lot of that sort of stuff on my own, there wasn't a lot of information around PLBs, and there's even less about satellite phones and HF radios. But anyway, we can talk about that at another point. Today we're looking at the KTI PLB, and a lot of this stuff is similar for a lot of other PLBs that are on the market. So PLB stands for Personal Locator Beacon, all right, and the PLB obviously for short. Now PLBs are designed to be used on land, all right. They can be a lot of people call them EPIRBs, and they're not. They're a PLB. An EPIRB is more for boats, on watercraft, and at sea is what an EPIRB is. They're a little bit bigger in size and that sort of thing. But PLB, as you can see, they're pretty small. They're literally pretty small. Obviously, this is a KTI branded one, and it is a KTI SA2GN PLB. So if you're looking at the product and you want to know a little bit more about it, that's what it is. Now, how this works once set off. Now, you only want to set this off in an emergency situation, okay? An emergency situation. So that is not something like you've a vehicle breakdown. That's not an emergency situation yet, okay? So a vehicle breakdown, you've done a tyre or something like that. That's not a life-threatening situation. An emergency life-threatening situation is the only time that you would set this off. Now, I'm sorry if you're seeing me shake a little bit. The March flies out here at this time of year are terrible. Even with Bushmen, it's pretty bad. So March flies are everywhere. Anyway, we'll keep going. Now, this PLB works on the 406 megahertz COPAS SARSAT satellite system, okay? So it's satellites. We're not talking mobile phone reception here, okay? So if you've got no phone reception, this will still work, provided you're in an open area with a clear line of sight to the sky, okay? That's super important with these, okay? So they'll work even if you've got no phone reception. That's why they're super handy for prospecting or four-wheel drive travel. But make sure if you're solo four-wheel driving that it's in an area you can grab. If you're in a vehicle rollover, something like that, and it's literally a life-threatening situation, you need to be able to grab this, okay? It's got a GPS accuracy down to 3 meters, all right? So, which is pretty good, which means that GPS coordinates are within 3 meters, all right, which is pretty good. It also has a 121.5 megahertz homing signal, okay? So when they come looking for you, they can pick up the signal and they know when they're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to you. So super handy, super handy if you've broken a leg or you literally can't walk, and let's say you're 10 k's from the car, something like that. You're in a remote area where there's no mobile phone reception. So if you're in a situation, first thing to do where you're lost, even being lost isn't necessarily a life-threatening situation yet. If you've got other tools to get you out, then you would use them. It's only when it becomes life-threatening that you might use this. And this might also be used for someone else. You might come across someone who is in a life-threatening situation themselves that you can't physically do anything to help them, where this might come in handy. So anything like that, super handy. Now this little pack here features a strobe light on top. Once you set it off, it will strobe, particularly at night. That could be handy with people finding you. It's got a signal mirror built into this little kit as well, a signal mirror that slides in the back. And it's also got a whistle on the lanyard, and I'll show you that in a second. Now when you first pick this up, all the information's in the box, but you need to register it at AMSA, which is the Australian Maritime Safety Authority here in Australia. All right, so you need to register it. You can put other things like your car, vehicle details. You can put your details in there, your next of kin details. So if you set this off, they know who to contact. You can also put in your whole trip, if you want to, where you're going, where you should be on certain days, all of that sort of stuff as well. So if you set this off, you sort of want as much information in there as you can. So like for me, I've got photos of my 4-wheel drive. I've just got other information around, you know, where I should be. But if you're going on a long trip, you might literally put a PDF document of where you should be each day, and upload that on there, and photos and whatever you can. If you set this off, it's going to assist them to come and find you, because sometimes these can be set off. They can pick up a signal, but they have no idea where it's coming from. So there can be issues around that sort of stuff. So if you can provide information that might help them online before you even leave your trip, if you set this off and for some reason they cannot get the GPS information or anything like that, yet they can still find you by the information that you put, or know a rough area of where you should be via the information you left there. So it's super, super handy, but I highly recommend putting as much information on there before you go on a trip or anything, or a solo prospecting trip or a 4-wheel drive trip, whatever it may be, putting some information in there. It's also super handy if you're going with a trip and no one else has got one of these. If you're in a remote outback area or something like that, something goes wrong, medical emergency, you're within, you know, you haven't got a HF radio, sat phone, no mobile phone reception, you're in the middle of nowhere, and for some reason someone's literally having a medical emergency, this might be the opportunity. This might be the time that you set this off, and look, literally it's worth it. If you can save someone's life or your own by having something like this, it's worth it. Now, I believe these are under $300 here in Australia, which is pretty good. 10-year battery life. I think they recommend the battery will last 15 to 20 years, but you'd have to look up KTI's website for that. But from what I can tell, 10-year battery life, which is super good. And yeah, you buy it once, you keep it in your 4-wheel drive, you can test them once a month, and I think it's every 3 months or 2 months or something, maybe every 6 months for a GPS check. So you do know it's going to work. So it's a really, really, really good idea, and it's well worth the $300. Might be $350, but $300 might be even less than that. I can't remember what I paid for this. Anyway, whatever it is, it's worth it. Have one of these with you, super handy. As I said, when should you deploy it? Life-threatening situation only, okay, or emergency situation only where you need to be rescued. If you're in a situation, you would always try and use your mobile phone first, but if you can't use a mobile phone or there's no reception, then maybe this might be your go-to, but you might want to try HF, and you might want to try like HF radio, and a satellite phone first. And if you've got neither of those things, then maybe this might be the opportunity, but you only want this as a worst case, life-threatening situation. And I know for me, if I was lost, I'd try everything I can to find my way back and sort my life out, literally, before I set this off. I would only use this if it was literally, we're a few days into being lost, I can't find my way out. That's when I might use this, okay? But probably I wouldn't leave it long enough that you're going to be dehydrated. It's probably not ideal. You want to set this off so that you are safe. And yeah, there's a lot of grey areas with these, isn't there? I mean, when should you set it off? But I mean, life-threatening situation, emergency situation is the time to set this off. Now that may be different in your circumstance, so keep that in mind. You might set it off, I think I've already mentioned this, in a rollover in a remote area where you're stuck, but you can reach a PLB, that might be handy. Lost with no chance of rescue, no one knows where you are, or even a snake bite situation where you don't want to move and you've got no one else with you who can get you back. Remember, this is going to take time for a rescue to come and find you. All right, this could take hours. Okay, once you set this off, could take hours for someone to come and find you, for maybe a rescue helicopter or a plane to come and find you. A rescue will take time, so you need to sit down, relax, assume this is doing its job. You actually don't know if the only problem with these devices are that you don't know if someone has picked this up, and so you have to assume and hope these work. If you set this off, yeah, you don't know whether it's actually got to where it needs to go and there is a rescue coming to save you. But that's, I mean, you hope that when you set this off, and that's why you test it every month or whatever it may be, every 6 months, to make sure it's going to work. So super handy. Yeah, I mean, as a worst case scenario, set this off. And that's about it with the KTI PLB. What I'll do is I'll just come over here and I'm out of screen, I'm sorry guys. But I want to give you a little bit of a close-up and information on this device. Comes with a lanyard, all right, super bright, KTI. The funny thing is it's actually got instructions on the lanyard on how to use it. Comes with a whistle. That there is a whistle, don't know if you can see it. You might not be able to see it, might not be in focus. Whistle, comes in this cool little bag. It's got a belt clip on the back. You might want to put a carabiner or something through there. But awesome little device here. In here, it opens up, it clips up. It's padded, it's pretty good. It's a good little case. I keep instructions in here, okay, the user manual. And there's a reason for that, is that if I'm in a situation where I need information, how to use it, that's handy. It also tells me how to test it. So I keep all of that in there. In the back here, sorry, you're out of frame. In the back is all the information on how to set it up, sign up, and set it up on the government website. You need to do that before you even bother taking it out of the box almost. It comes with a signalling mirror, super handy with a hole in it. That comes as part of the kit, super handy. So what you would do in a situation where you've set it off, you would point this at the plane or whatever, look through the hole, point it at there, and provided you're in the sun, these are pretty cool. They work really, really well. So I also keep that stays in the back. Now the actual unit itself, I'll just put all this back. You don't want to accidentally set one of these off, by the way. Not that I have, but you don't want to. It's always a way, isn't it? Everything's too difficult to put back in the bag. This is the little device here. I'll just go and sit this on the ground over here. This is the device itself. So it's super small. You got the lanyard on top. That's what it looks like. Even that may not be in focus. Instructions on the back. As you can see, the strobe is on the top, clear. What you would do, if you set this off, you can see there's still a sticker across the top. It tells you emergency use only, which it is. We know that. Slide that down. Push the button behind here. Okay, and it'll beep and flash and do all sorts of things. There's a test button. There's actually an antenna around the top, so this unclips. You can see it's just sitting there. You fold that up, slide that down, push the button. All right. So you need to undo the antenna first. All right, and the antenna just you sort of slide it off the top, go around it. But yeah, the only time I do that is when I'm testing it. So yeah, it's got all the information on there. This expires in December 2030. So you get a fairly good, I mean, we're in 2021 now, so provided you test it, know it's going to work. I mean, you could literally take that anywhere. Look at the size of the thing. Put it in a pocket, put it in a bag. It actually came with a sports shoulder strap, this one. So you could actually go running with it if you're running in a remote area or anything like that. But super, super handy. A lot of other PLBs are the same, based around the same idea, but I know GME have got one, stuff like that. But just make sure, for something like this, I wouldn't recommend buying it off eBay. This is a life, could save your life. Don't be stupid and buy cheap out or whatever and go and buy something off eBay that you've got no idea where it's coming from. It could be coming from overseas. It may not even meet spec over here. So highly recommend buying Australian only. And yeah, source a product that you know is going to work. There's other devices, if you don't just want one of these, there's other devices, especially from Garmin, that have a built-in GPS, that also have a PLB. There's others like a Spot as well. But I chose this because I wanted a standalone device that in an emergency situation, you pull it out, you turn it on, you set it off, put the antenna up, you know it's going to work. I hope it's going to work. But yeah, I mean, it's a situation where you don't need it until you actually need it. But hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea, guys, on the KTI PLB. Check out KTI's website if you've got any more information. But I highly recommend any of these for any four-wheel driver, anyone who goes out fishing, maybe you're out on, you just enjoy the outdoors, going for a run, going for a bushwalk, highly recommend checking out the KTI PLB. Thanks guys, cheers.